All right, let's jump right in. When we think of organized crime, we usually picture shadowy figures in back alleys, right? Well, scrap that. Today, we're diving into a fascinating explainer on how transnational organized crime operates exactly like a slick, highly efficient multinational corporation. Specifically, we're looking at Spain's Ndrangheta-Linked network. Picture Spain's Mediterranean coast for a second. Think Ibiza. What pops into your head? You're probably visualizing stunning coastlines, luxury marinas, endless tourists, and of course, that legendary vibrant lifestyle. It is literally an economic engine built on hospitality and just limitless cash flow. But here's the catch. Those exact same features create the absolute perfect illusion of legitimate wealth, providing incredible cover for some serious illicit activities. And we're going to shatter that sunny illusion right now by unpacking the staggering September 2022 raids. The arrest of 32 suspects exposed something deeply complex. It showed us exactly how these Italian mafia-linked networks don't just traffic drugs. Oh no, they combine international drug trafficking with extortion, legitimate tourism businesses, and massive real estate investments, all rolled into a single, seamless criminal operating environment, literally hiding in plain sight. Just to give you a sense of the sheer scale here, authorities seized €300,000 in cold, hard cash during coordinated searches across Ibiza, Barcelona, Malaga, and Tenerife. That's a massive amount of physical cash. And it wasn't just money. They uncovered kilos of amphetamines and cocaine, a huge cannabis plantation, plus firearms and ammunition. Make no mistake, this wasn't some low-level street hustle. This was a highly sophisticated, heavily armed corporate enterprise.
Section 1. The 2022 Spanish Takedown.
So what did investigators actually find when they kicked the doors in? The operation revealed not one, but two distinct yet intimately connected groups. You had a mafia-style organization based out of Milan with heavy operations in Ibiza, suspected of having serious ties to the notorious Calabrian Ndrangheta and the Sicilian Cosa Nostra. Then you had a separate Spain-based network dedicated strictly to importing South American cocaine. Together, their core activities formed a pretty deadly triad: drug trafficking to generate the cash, money laundering to clean it, and brutal extortion to maintain local control. Moving on to Section 2, inside the Ndrangheta network. Now, we have to completely throw out the idea of a local street gang here. The Ndrangheta operates way more like a decentralized global franchise. They originated in Calabria, Italy, sure, but their resilience? That comes from a tight, family-based structure of blood and marriage that is incredibly tough for law enforcement to crack. These individual clans operate with massive autonomy all over the world, expanding their territory not just through violence, but by strategically buying their way into legitimate global economies. And here is where it gets really corporate. They don't do everything themselves. They outsource. Europol data actually shows these networks are highly multinational. They use Latin American suppliers for sourcing the cocaine, Italian mafia groups to maintain territorial control on the ground in Ibiza, and Albanian or Hungarian associates to handle the messy logistics and maritime transport. It's essentially a massive, multinational workforce of trusted contractors collaborating wherever their skill sets complement each other. It's a supply chain, plain and simple. Let's look at Section 3, smuggling and maritime logistics. So how does the product actually get there? Well, you can forget the Hollywood stereotypes of midnight shootouts and high-speed boat chases. The reality of modern maritime smuggling is honestly remarkably mundane. Real trafficking relies heavily on everyday recreational sailing boats. These vessels pay standard marina fees, they undergo routine maintenance, and they just blend right in with the thousands of regular vacationers sailing around the Mediterranean. It's camouflage by normality. But they don't just rely on stealthy little sailboats. Spain is a huge primary entry point for Europe, and massive commercial avenues are heavily exploited too. To put this in perspective, in 2024, Spanish authorities seized a jaw-dropping 13 tons of cocaine hidden inside a shipment of bananas. At the time, it was the country's largest single cocaine seizure ever. This really highlights how they play both sides, utilizing micro-smuggling through luxury marinas and macro-smuggling through massive commercial container ports. Section 4. Laundering through local tourism. Okay, let's talk about the revenue integration phase, how they turn illegal profits into clean corporate capital using the local tourism industry. Step 1. The drug cash generated from cocaine sales is mixed right in with income from seasonal tourist apartments. Because tourism naturally fluctuates wildly depending on the season, revenue spikes and dips are totally expected. This makes short-term rentals the absolute perfect business model for money laundering. You can just fabricate bookings or inflate revenues, mix that dirty drug cash with genuine vacation money, and deposit it straight into the banking system as clean revenue. It's incredibly difficult for authorities to untangle without deep diving into every single booking and tax receipt. But they aren't just quietly hiding behind these legitimate businesses. They aggressively extort local business owners. And this isn't just about making a quick buck. It's about establishing absolute territorial control over the community. They'll intimidate local restaurants, nightlife venues, or property companies, essentially forcing them to store illicit goods or hire criminal associates on their payroll. And the craziest part? The extortion payments rarely look like a shakedown. They are cleverly disguised in the accounting books as consulting fees, loan repayments, or standard supplier invoices.
Section 5. Why financial systems fail.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. If this syndicate is out there paying marina fees, buying real estate, and running apartment rentals out in the open, why on earth are conventional anti-money laundering controls completely missing them?
The answer lies in corporate blind spots. First off, their commercial cover is perfectly legitimate. Tourism is literally the lifeblood of Ibiza, so nothing looks out of place. Second, visibility is highly fragmented. One bank handles the property company, a totally different bank sees the boat business, and maybe a third bank holds the personal accounts. No single institution ever sees the whole picture. Add in ownership opacity, like using relatives with squeaky clean criminal records as frontmen, and transactional plausibility, where a payment for, say, boat repairs looks entirely standard. Put all that together, and the financial system is essentially blind to the underlying crime.
All right, Section 6. Dismantling the criminal ecosystem.
So how do we fight back? To actually dismantle this ecosystem, investigators have to stop looking at isolated transactions. An effective defense requires totally reversing the criminal's own process. Analysts literally have to connect the physical property back to the shell company, trace that company back to its true beneficial controllers, and finally map those seemingly legitimate transactions back to the underlying criminal activity. And they do this by finding hidden links, like shared addresses, burner phone numbers, and shady professional advisors.
And this fight is very much ongoing. The massive takedown in September 2022, that was just one battle, definitely not the end of the war. Thanks to cross-border coordination by Eurojust and Europol between 2022 and 2024, crucial evidence and intelligence were shared effectively. Yet flash forward to August 2025, and Spanish and Italian police had to arrest 3 new Ndrangheta-linked fugitives right back in Ibiza, recovering even more cash, jewelry, and fake IDs. It just proves that transnational crime is incredibly resilient. If someone gets arrested, they simply replace the personnel and adjust their supply routes.
Beating this ever-evolving threat requires what we call a sophisticated AML control stack. Simple name screening against a database, yeah, that just isn't cutting it anymore. Financial crime units need deep, risk-sensitive due diligence, especially for cash-intensive, seasonal businesses. They need reliable beneficial ownership analysis to look past the registered shareholders and find the people actually pulling the strings. They must verify the true source of wealth for these high-value property purchases, employ network analytics to connect devices and payment flows, and above all, rely on cross-border intelligence sharing. To fight a network, you literally have to build a better network. Which leaves us with this final thought. We've just seen how seamlessly this corporate crime network weaves itself into the everyday fabric of legitimate vacation economies. So the next time you walk past a luxury marina or book a seasonal rental on a gorgeous Mediterranean island, I want you to look a little closer. Ask yourself, could you spot the hidden syndicate operating right under our noses? Keep your eyes open out there, and thanks for joining me for this explainer.